that race between Tina and Goldstone.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Like all of a sudden, next thing I know is I see the starter guy forcing Tina to go down the track, and I'm watching it. I'm watching the hourglass is what it seemed like, because she's over there going and he's over there, and I wish we had a camera in the side of the car, because I'd have loved the scene. You're not going to be tired when you get to the track to go drag racing, but when you drag racing, you go get on the road, you run out of gas, you start getting tired. And two, you're out there in the middle of nowhere at midnight, and you got to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning for somebody to open up to be able to get a part or whatever. Like, this doesn't make no sense. Plus, on top of that, it made sense at the time. Spectators, they're going to get off work and they're going to come watch us. So it just,
the nighttime racing, I love it. I've preached that since the very beginning. It really makes so much sense to me, because you're literally driving to get, like, your adrenaline is up because you're going to the track. You're trying to get to the track.
I've been told my whole life, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to pull that off. It's just for me, it's a challenge to prove to people that I can do what people say that you can't do. It's just like this car right here. That's something that I don't think ever in my lifetime would I have thought that, I'd have a 6-second all steel car, and
All right, guys, welcome to episode 110 of the Drag Drive Repeat Show, presented by Summit Racing. Dude, tonight we've got a crazy show. And then PowerTube TV, dude, did you see this? Our boys from Canada took the S10 from Justin Danger Nunley in the Pinks, I guess Team Canada versus Team America. They are our friends, Rich Guido, Raj, Ahuja, and Kyle Williams helped put this car together. All those guys from Canada went down there and just basically kicked Justin's butt. So they kicked America's butt. I don't know what America is going to do about that, but I feel like we should have had a better showing than that. But when you're going up against guys like Rich Guido and Kyle Williams and Rovic from the Yukon and Sean, however you say his last name, the What No Way guy, he's done a drag and drive in a 4-door Chevelle. This car just put it down. Maybe they need to send it over to US Motor Works and have the car finished up there. So if you guys aren't signed up, Pinks for PowerTube TV, you can download it. It's an app for your TV, for your phone, everything. We have a ton of content from Drag Drive Repeat over there, and there's stuff from every kind of build aspect you can want. Really nice cars, really shitty cars, off-road stuff. They have constantly are upgrading the package over there, so highly recommend it. And guys, if it's another way for you to watch us, come on. We actually send them exclusive stuff every now and then. I need to do more of it. But stuff you can't even watch on our channel, you can watch over there. Now for the fun stuff. WAF Racing, carburetors. If you need carburetor parts, go see WAF. Let me message Chris Wozniak. He's the man. Let me play this. And then we're going to bring Matt Frost in from Rocky Mountain Race Week.
Have you ever wished you could fit your toolbox in the palm of your hand, or really needed that extra set of hands while making a jet change at the track? At WAF Racing, we specialize in designing and manufacturing top-tier automotive tools that are made strong to withstand travel, yet lightweight not to slow you down. Tested in-house and at the track by the team at WAF Racing, every part is made by racers for racers. From compact toolkits, carburetor top hats, or spark plug storage containers, our tools are precision engineered and manufactured in the USA. Made of the strongest materials, every piece strikes the perfect balance of durability and dependability. Maybe you need something custom just for you. We do that too. You need WAF Racing in the passenger seat for your next drag racing event. Head over to wafracing.com today to take your racing experience to the next level. WAF Racing. Design, build, race.
Man, I love those dudes. Chris Wozniak is awesome. That black Barracuda is his. So he's a NA small black guy. Like, you guys are buddies.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All the carb stuff that they do is really kind of fun. But I want to bring in the man himself, the guy that celebrated his birthday on Mega Week, pictured here live and in person, is going to be right here with us. Mr. Matt Frost. Hold on. I just screwed it up. There we are. Sir, how are you this evening? Tell us what you got going on. Introduce yourself, all the fun stuff.
well, I'm me, Matt Frost, Rocky Mountain Race Week. And what do I got going on? I've got a torn down car behind me that needs to be ready for Friday to go racing. So
Oh man.
we started with a tire change and we ended up with a whole motor tore down. So
Oh
yeah.
That's the wrong end, man. That's
Well,
the wrong end.
It happens sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's super cool shirt you got on. You guys can purchase that shirt right now at dragdriverpete.com/store if you want to. Our race car friends, our favorite restaurant shirt there. That's a fun one. Got a bunch of cool drag and drive cars on it as well. Matt, I'm going to get mushy for a minute, dude. I'll tell you, you changed my life. I don't know if you knew that back in 2020, but who would have ever thought 5 years later we'd be sitting right here and I would have quit a corporate job and talked to degenerates all day.
It's freaking awesome. It's awesome, and you're doing a great job. And what I love about it is you're doing it for the right reasons, and it's awesome. You're doing it for the people and the racers, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, I appreciate that for sure. We, dude, it's really probably the best family that's out there. I mean, I know Jonathan will agree with this. It's really one of the coolest. I love that you had the forethought to allow anybody that raced the previous year to sign up for the next, because it did several things. It did, one was like, you don't have to train a bunch of new people, right? Two, it helps you have a bigger event every time, so you're more likely to get to your number. But what it allows for new people like me coming in 2020, it gave me people I could go talk to.
Yeah.
Like Jonathan obviously is like my big brother, and so him talking with him, doing all that kind of fun stuff. But like, you could go to anybody that had a race week decal on their windshield because they had like 2017, 2018, 2019, and then you saw 2020. You're like, okay, these are my folks. I can ask them things. So man, great forethought on that. I think you've done that since the beginning, right?
Yeah, we absolutely have. And I got a lot of flack for, from the beginning of it. There was a lot of, oh man, nobody else is being able to get in there. Well, if you look at how the numbers work, there's always at least 70 new cars. I mean, that don't sound like a lot, but that's, that turnover, there's a lot. That's a lot. And for me, what it did I think my thought process is like you said, one, you're not training everybody. That culture stays there, but also it gives you a place to go next year. So you're going to want to build more, you want to make your car faster. The things that you want to do, you're not guessing whether you're going to be able to get there. You're not going to, you're not, at that point, with it only being, 2 events going on at the time, your chances of getting in once you got locked out of there was pretty hard. So if you can have a place to go, that you can put some more time into your car, and it's going to be positive for you the next year.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see that. And I was just making a note to actually look at that. It was how many people have gone faster throughout the years. Like if you look at guys like Carlos Astor, did he start with a 13.0 car? I mean, probably not, but did he start in there and he's worked his way up? Who have we not seen in there that I didn't catch that looking at all that historical stuff? It's like, who had a 13 or 14 second car that just kept taking that car and going faster? Not like Uncle Stoney here, who brings a different car every time, which those are great stats too.
Sure.
Who's brought what, and kind of how fun that is, because I think that is one thing that this became a vacation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
There are, was it last year when you listed off, I think we were at Oklahoma City, you listed off like all these people that had done like every event. And I mean, it was more than I could count on 2 hands and one of my feet. I think it was pretty awesome.
There was a lot. I mean, it's slowly, it's knocked off. I think now you're down to the Thorpes, and, Carlos has done, he hasn't competed in all of them, but he's been to all of them. And then you have Vince. Vince has been to every one from the beginning, and
that's awesome.
It's really crazy to see that. And there's a lot of them that have done it a lot of years. And we all understand, like the 301 streetcar guys, they were there for a ton of them. They were there for a long time. Yeah, the kids were younger, and now they're, having babies, and they're adults now and stuff like that. I mean, it's just crazy what we've seen, with our kids and everybody else's kids. And we've lost people that we've grown to love over the years. And we've watched all these kids grow up, and now they're racing, and it's just wild. Yep. The family side of it's pretty serious.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that as the years go on. Like, Austin Martin is I mean, we know that family very well. They participated in the streetcar shootout we held for a long time now. They host it with the 301 streetcars, and like just the growth. Like Austin went from a kid. I mean, he was like 12 or 13 when they started doing this stuff, and then now, he's got, I'm sure, fiance or girlfriend or whatever she is. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're fiancé or not yet, but she's pretty serious. She's been with him to several events that I've seen.
Sure.
Like, it's pretty serious stuff. So it's pretty awesome to see that, and all the other kids that are coming up too. Eric Daniels here saying 12-0 last year, 11-0 this year, planning on 10-0 next year.
So it creates that monster. I mean, and also I think that's good for everybody. It's good for us. It's good for the industry. it's good for everybody that's involved in this for that to continue on. And you see that a lot with how we've grown with some of our sponsors too, on how that's another thing about the Race Week group is they're very loyal to the people that help sponsor this stuff. And that's another part of that I think you get from it being a family deal, that everybody comes back every year. That's where you get that loyalty and people spend that money. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. I would have never, if you'd have told me that we would be doing a mega week when we started this deal, or we would have had the people that we have on board for sponsors and stuff like that, I never would have dreamed that. All I could do is just put my head down and just keep grinding at it. And it was tough, and it still is tough. Like, we still make mistakes sometimes, and it bothers me. I can tell you when we don't do something right, or everything, when things start going wrong, it still eats at me. I try to take it with stride a little bit more, and I try not to quit every time that something like that happens. But that's how it is for me. Like, I do this because of the people that we are involved with. Otherwise I'd go race my race car and I'd forget about it. But the people drag me back every year, and that's the only reason, honestly, that at the end of the day, that's why I do it, because it's sometimes it's a thankless job, I'll tell you. So
Well, hey, listen, there's a lot of times the only time you talk to people is when they're mad.
Yeah.
And that's tough. Real quick, some comments here. I think it's kicking me back to this for some reason. It kicks me back over here when I bring up a comment. So John Gilman, 11:47 this year, hoping for 11:45 next year, going faster. Chris,
he's a long ways from where he was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Chris Paget, 1250s to 10.0s to 850s. I mean, that's so awesome. Lee Watkins, 6 years and won 11.0A group this year. That's pretty awesome, man. Those index classes, dude. I want to talk about that in a minute too, because that was crazy for you to do back then. I'm sure people were like, "What are you talking about?" That all Bob race team, 9 years since our first Rocky Mountain Race Week, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and Jason, look at where Jason started with the Firebird to where he's at now too. 2 cars later, and we've watched all of it. I mean, even we can go back to the Taylors with the Camaro, and now where she's at with the where Alex is at with the 55. I mean, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of great things over the years with what we've done. So
yeah, it's wild to see the growth, and especially from like your side. We talked about this on one of the last episodes, was that when you first started this, you were the second drag and drive that was out there. Like, so I feel like you laid the groundwork for what we are seeing now. You proved that, hey, there could be more than one. Plus, you couldn't have done it in a harder region.
Right.
Your drives were way longer than what I'm sure at that point Drag Week were.
Right.
And then, you had Drag Week, then you had 2015, you had Rocky Mountain Race Week, and One Guy's Garage started that year. But I think they probably had 20 cars that year.
Sure. And we had 60, and we had to evolve.
Yeah.
Like, we were trying to do all that in 5 days. Drive across Kansas and drive across Nebraska, all that in a week.
Yep.
And it was like, we got to change something here. Like, this is, I don't remember who it was that told me, but we stopped at a hotel, and somebody come in there and he was pissed, and they said, "Well, how's it going?" He looked at me and he was dead serious. He's like, I've treated rental cars better than that. I mean, he was just freaking angry about it. And I'm like, wait, the best part's coming. Like, we didn't get to the mountains yet. I'm like, I know that flat plains and 120 degrees and 320 miles. I know it was hard. And then the next day he's like, oh my God, the drive from the mountains was awesome. But we had to evolve. That's how we, that's why the drive days came in. And then I started realizing, I'm like, why are we not doing this at night? Like, why are we doing this during the day? This makes no sense. Like, to me, it was like, hey, you're not going to be tired when you get to the track to go drag racing. But when you drag race and you go get on the road, you run out of gas. You start getting tired. And 2, you're out there in the middle of nowhere at midnight, and you got to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning for somebody to open up to be able to get a part or whatever. Like, this doesn't make no sense. Plus, on top of that, it made sense at the time. Spectators, they're going to get off work and they're going to come watch us. So there was a lot of stuff that had to constantly keep being changed to make this work to where it is now.
The nighttime racing, I love it. I've preached that since the very beginning. It really makes so much sense to me, because you're literally driving to get, like, your adrenaline is up because you're going to the track. You're trying to get to the track. And that, to me, made all the difference when you start looking at other stuff. And as someone said, I can't remember who said it while we were on Mega Week, but the track gets better the longer you're there. Yep. Not like, sometimes we see that at the sick events or Drag Week, the track goes away the later in the day. It gets hot, you lose all the good stuff. And then so you end up, the nighttime racing, man, it's where it's at. People are out there. It's a ton of fun.
The only lesson that people need to learn is you have to get your first hit in while it's greasy and hot in the right when you get there when it's still 100 degrees. Make sure you get that spot, whether it's a crappy run or not. You've got it, and then from that point, then you can just wait. You can wait till it gets good, and then a lot of times your one and dones and they split. But what was really cool about that is a lot of your one and dones, they would go out, and then your fast guys would stay later and later, and they would get faster and faster, so it retained them there longer, which was even. There was a couple years there, especially during the COVID time, the atmosphere was wild with all the people that were on, out there around the starting line and all that stuff. Like, it was a wild time, and it was good to, it was just a good time to be doing what we were doing, and that atmosphere was something you couldn't explain.
That's awesome. Hey, hold on, just say I want to run through these photos real quick because this is really cool. Rob Lipinski just sent me this. This is her growing up on race week. You ready for this? It's gonna get in your feels right here. Oh, what? That's so wild, man.
Oh yeah, those kids. I mean, look how small she is. She's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When the pink fingernails started to come into play,
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I was going to say. Who still has their pink pinky?
Well, there's still a little bit on there. Maybe a little.
Yeah. Yep. You can tell I don't do anything manual labor there or at all. But hey, this one I saw Alita Stark at Six Summer. She still had hers on, so we got a picture together. I'm gonna post that up on the Rocky Mountain Race Speakers group here in a little bit. Mike Gonzalez says, I do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. Said Chris Padgett said the highlight of 2020 and COVID crap was race week. Man, I've said it forever. Like, that event really changed a bunch of stuff because without that event, I wouldn't have done one. Like, I don't know why I was missing them in 2019 or earlier when they were in the summer when I could have done them, but because race week came, I went. Like, I mean, that's where it comes from. And so to have that opportunity is pretty awesome.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I think that's one thing. We changed things that way, and we and it was kind of like what's going on here with me, my thought process on Mega Week. Like, I threw that together in probably, I don't know what it was, 3-4 weeks. That said, hell, we're gonna try to do this, and we're gonna do it for the drag weekers that are not gonna be able to go. And
I felt like it was 4 days.
I don't know. It was short. I don't think it was accepted well, but we realized that we could do that. And the next thing you know, it was like it went really well. So, okay, let's do a second one. But I think where I got stuck, my biggest, get into the details of this, but where I got stuck in this is Drag Week was the only ones that were doing it at the time. I had that black eye if I went out there and I tried this on my own. I couldn't get any of the big sponsors. And then you got to the point now where it's really big, and some of these other guys have grabbed all these huge sponsors. We kind of got stuck in this hole, right? So there's this little hole that we're in that we're starting to get out of it now. Like, I'm starting to get the sponsors that we, they would really help us get to where we need to go. But it was hard for a long time because I was doing something that people didn't really agree with. And so it was a struggle. But once we got to that second one and we started doing that second one and we knew it was going to work, I'm like, well, here we are. These guys all want us to do it. Like, I did it because everybody said, hey, we want this second one. And it's worked every year. And then kind of like, going into this Mega Week deal, it worked really well. And I can't help to think that maybe I got to try it again just to see if it really can work doing what we're doing with the two events clashing like this. I think it did. There were some hiccups, but like everybody said, it went really, really smooth for the most part. I'm not saying that it can't go bad. I mean, it's one oil down away or one weather event or something like that could turn the tides of that. But we've always worked around all that stuff,
Yeah.
It went so smooth. Like, from a media standpoint, cars were on the track a lot of the day. Like, I don't remember a big 3 or 4 hour window where cars were not on the track, and that worked great for Eric and I. The only problem was, man, we got to schedule better for Mega Week 2. We need to maybe we get us 2 assistants, and like one assistant goes with me and one assistant with him, and we split it up. I don't know. Right. James Shower at High Speed Media, big shout out to him. He had a pretty good plan going in. They had 2 teams that seemed to help them put out a ton of content for Rocky Mountain Race Week, and man, it was really cool. I want to ask, like, what gets into your brain to do that? Like, you knew 10 years, you're like, hey, 10 years, we got to do something cool. But like, dude, that's next level shit, man.
What I originally was going to do, I had been thinking about this for a long time. And what my original plan is to put one group at this end on the other end, on the opposite side, starting at another track. And we started at this track, and then they crossed each other. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you don't ever end up being together other than maybe somewhere in the middle. So this is where this came together. I'm like, like, man, we've got people who are disciplined. They know what they're doing. I started grooming Mark, that he's the bigger guy, Mark Iskey, that helps me. I kind of got him in, and started teaching him how things could go. And I'm like, if you can just stay on this side and help June, I'll move on to the next one and we can make this work. And I just started working towards how we can make this and figure it out. But it's just, I think it's like anything with what I do. You're just trying to do something a little bit bigger and a little bit and prove that you can do it. Because my whole life has been, I've been told my whole life, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to pull that off. It's just for me, it's a challenge to prove to people that I can do what people say that you can't do. It's just like this car right here. That's something that I don't think ever in my lifetime would I have thought that, I'd have a 6-second all steel car, and it's took me a long time to get here and do what we're doing with it. And we're chipping away at it, but it's just one of those things that you would have never thought. And, here we are, we're not breaking any records or doing anything right, with it. But, as far as that goes, but I'm out there with one of the probably very few cars that are still all steel doors, front clip, everything out there going 6s and knocking it down, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, especially in a car that can be street, there's so few of them. I mean, it's probably one hand you can count the cars that can do that. So that is badass. And one of the only Pro Charge cars to do it in any kind of drag and drive fashion at all. Jason Schaefer here saying, I owned the coupe for 32 years, but tougher drives of Rocky Mountain Race Week has forced me to make the car more dependable and durable than it's ever been. And then that dude, because of all this stuff, met Reggie Moore and all those guys, and then they drove those crazy things all the way to California and back.
Oh my God, they're crazy. And look at what they got to work with. I'm like, you're better man than me, because holy shit, like, sorry, but that's just, it's crazy. I mean, I just can't believe watching them guys. They're just humming down the highway, and you're like, sometimes you're looking at that, you're like, did you guys just drag that out of the field and throw a motor in it and bleed the brakes and make them work and go? Because that's what you're looking at. It's wild. Yeah.
That's crazy. Neil Sabo here says, well, I guess we all need to keep telling Matt he can't, even knowing he will. That's exactly right. Well, I want to talk about some stories, man. I want you to tell us from your side, like how much fun you had during the week. What are some things that stuck out to you from your side, your experience?
It was definitely wild for us, as far as I would say that I would try to leave the track at 6:00 every night to go to the next track. Well, 9:00, 10:00 would come because I wouldn't leave, and so, but it was great. Like my hardest part with it was I didn't get to spend enough time with the B group that I normally would. I didn't get to go out and get into the stuff, but I did deal with a lot of things that were going on. And Stoney's brake problem, which is crazy, is Dave Messa had basically the same problem with his S10 pickup. That thing lost the front brake line, and he ends up down there in the sand. I mean, bad. Like, it was into the hay bales, and it's smashed up, and he's tore up about it. I know he's tore up about it. I'm looking at it, and we're trying to get this barrel out from underneath it, so we're waiting for them to get the tractor and pick it up. And I said, dude, this thing ain't tore up that bad. I said, I know it's tore up bad, but it's not that bad. I said, let's drag it out. I said, let's make sure it runs and make sure nothing's leaking or whatever. So we do that. And he's like, well, it still don't have no brakes. I said, well, I'll follow you down and I'll get in front of you with the golf cart. So if it starts rolling or whatever, you can crash into me if we have to or whatever. Let's get you back to the pits. So he goes rolling, and every wheel on it's bent, they're rolling. The freaking door is smashed in. I said, dude, take this thing back to the pits and work on it and get it fixed. I said, you need to finish this event. He wasn't sure about it at first. I think he looked at me at first like I was crazy. And then the next thing I know, they're fixing that thing up, and here they come. And the best part about it is when he turned the headlights on, they're both broke and they're hanging out. The eyeballs of this truck's hanging out, right? But they're still working. So when he gets to the next track, I go over there and look. Well, the glass is broke, but the bulbs are still in there. So they just took blue tape and taped the light bulbs buckets back in there. And that's the way it was, So, and, with Reggie's, son crashing the Camaro and all that, they got that back together. Like, there was a lot of cool stuff. Andy Bean's truck, I pulled him out of the ditch. They hydroplaned, I think, probably 5 or 6 miles ahead of us. And it just happened to be that there was I don't know if it's a volunteer fireman or whatever, but he had his lights on and he was going down the road. And I don't think he was going to where he had crashed. He was just going somewhere. Well, he stopped. And so I pull over and I'm like, there's a pickup there that's Road Week truck. And I asked that guy, so you got a chain? He said, yeah. So we hook onto him, and we no more hook onto him, and it just starts dumping. Like, it's coming out, water out of my pockets, everything. We're soaked. We get him pulled out of the ditch and get him straightened out, and then we go on our way. But there was a lot of craziness that with the water and the crashes and everything that went on. And unfortunately, Jeremy Kroger's Nova, that thing was a pretty bad crash. Like, there wasn't fixing that car, but everybody was struggling a little bit, and they got through it. And I think for me, that's what it's about for me, is not necessarily the crash part, but like you talked about earlier, just being able to go through some of these events, that happened to us, and to be able to prosper and get through that and have to reflect to that. It makes our lives a little bit easier when we go on through the week. But I mean, those were some things that kind of stuck out. We had a couple struggles at the track, at a couple of tracks getting started, and it just takes everybody to put your nose down and grind and get it. I think the biggest part for me that was surprising was, and I don't think it was wasn't surprising either. But everybody must have went into this one going, we think that there's going to be an issue here. So if there are issues, we're going to work with it, because nobody was complaining. Everybody was having a good time. They were working around the stuff. And this has probably been the best year for that. I just didn't hear near as much of the problems that we were having. I mean, you get your gripes. You got, especially in this situation, you got over 1,000 people there. You think people are going to complain about stuff, but it really, nobody did. It was good.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. It was really cool to go like into the pit and there'd just be cars there all day long.
Yes.
Literally all day long. Cause it was really the schedule was perfect, having the A and B group and all that kind of, people can look at all that. But like for content wise, for media side of stuff, dude, it made it perfect for us. Cause I could literally go out and get any story at any time. If I needed, hey, I haven't recorded anything in 30 minutes.
You can go find it.
Yeah, I could go find and talk to anyone out there. We talked to so many new people. It was really cool. The Geo Metro trailer sticks out in my mind. I love that. How they just welded on the front out of a little Geo Metro. What's really cool is we were walking by that car in the pits at Tulsa, I think day 0, and they had the radials for the truck. They just had them leaned up kind of in the wheel hole of that car. And so I, not a second look, didn't even think about it, didn't see the front on it or anything. Come back by on day 2 and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah, there was some wild stuff. I mean, there was some really cool stuff there. Some of them some newer ones that stack out is the white dart, with the blower. That thing was insane. Lots of different cool stuff. Seeing Stoney with the, in the Nova, and then the little maroon one that he was doing, and there was just a lot of different stuff, and there was just a lot of clean, cool stuff, and then there was some weird stuff too that we've never seen before. And I think most people were telling me what was weird is I call it shift change. So when A group goes to leave and B group comes in, and then they're driving down the road and they seeing cars going the wrong way, and they're all freaking out looking at their maps thinking they went the wrong damn direction because they're not used to seeing the cars going the opposite direction, Yeah. Very cool stuff. Something that stuck out, and I think we'll talk about this forever, but that race between Tina and Goldstone.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Like you couldn't write that. You couldn't write that. And she was, I mean, it was crazy because I'm standing there watching it, and she, they told me, they're like, the car's hurt. We're just gonna, we're basically just gonna double bolt, or put the bulbs in and break the beams. And then if he go, he goes. Well, all of a sudden, the next thing I know is I see the starter guy forcing Tina to go down the track, and I'm watching it. I'm watching the hourglass is what it seemed like, because she's over there going, and he's over there. And I wish we had a camera in the side of the car, because I'd have loved to see what that looked like with him over there trying to fire that car. It had to be insane.
I can't imagine his blood pressure at that moment. Oh man,
unbelievable.
So for folks that didn't see it, it was crazy. Tina's in the left lane, Brian Goldstone's in the right lane. To move on, this is like what, round 1 or 2 of the 2 of the quick 16 or the BMF 16.
Yeah, $15,000 on the line.
And all Tina at that point had to do was roll down, but they were having some issues with the injector driver or something. They couldn't get the big injector. So anyways, she's going down pretty slow, and Goldstone's back there and it's going, oh man. And then when he gets out at about 400 feet, you could tell he was on a scramble or something.
Oh God.
He was like, I'm not gonna get there.
Well, we were seeing both sides of that car. I mean, it was wild to watch those tires. I swear to God, them things had to probably bounce. The back of that car had to come off the ground the way it was bouncing back and forth.
Yes, definitely earned it there. It was pretty awesome. And then of course he goes on to win $34,000 over the weekend. Absolutely insane. So I'll bring a picture of him here. I do have a couple cars I want to go through. The Brittany Friesen's car, didn't Michael, her dad, was driving it, right?
He was
and
driving
then he won the class in a small block or something like that. Is that right?
Did he win it? I'm not sure if he did. I think he did.
I can't remember. They did well or something.
I think it was Group B.
Group B, yeah. So super cool car, and obviously having them there, they have been trying to get this Delray done for so long to get it on a drag and drive, and to not have that car there and to have this one and do so well is really cool. And then, dude, big shout out Shane Werner. You're an animal, bro. To ride through that, do both groups on a motorcycle, that guy was crazy. Absolutely.
And then Vince almost had it too. Like he almost had both classes, for being, that would have been a great story for him, to be at every event and then won both of them would have been pretty wild.
Yeah. And Vince's car, his wife drives in another class, right?
Yes.
Like they turned it down for her to drive another class. So not only did he make a minimum of 4 passes a day for his class, she also made those for the class, and
And several, because she went over the number quite a few times, so she was
Oh,
coming
man.
back around and getting it done.
God,
Yeah.
that's crazy. And then of course Chris Story to have him racing this time was really cool. Really weird to see him not running around with a camera. Said he didn't even pick it up at all during the week. Any photo he took was on his phone. So
Well, that's good. That's good for him.
Yep.
It's nice to see,
Yeah.
you know, the hard work of the guys actually be able to go out there and enjoy it for a change. It was awesome to see that for him, and he was super stoked the whole time too.
Oh yeah, just fourth gear, 208-mile-an-hour wheel speed burnout at Mel Hamilton. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. Highly recommend anybody to do Rocky Mountain Race Week. Let me do one more ad read, and then we'll get into some other cars and stuff like that we've got going.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. One more car I want to talk about. This guy right here, Animal. I don't remember his name. I should. He bought us Waffle House on day 0. Love this guy. He was always welcoming to our pits. Breaks the 6.2 Raptor set up in the car. His wife drives 3 hours one way to pick up a motor.
Yep.
Puts it in, and then they start fighting with that motor, trying to get it ready. Didn't
It
leave.
had to self clearance itself
Yeah.
because it was knocking. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't leave Flying H till like the next morning or something crazy. There was a whole batch of people that didn't leave Flying H until
Well,
then.
it was him, and then there was, I can't remember the boys' names in the Camaro, but we stopped and checked on them with the rear. They had a rear end problem, and my Tyson Alps, which is June's son, he stayed with them the whole time to help them. And so me and Brent stopped, and we can't get the crush collar to crush to get them. They couldn't get it. I mean, we had bars on everything trying to. And I said, listen, all I can tell you guys is we're not getting it. The only thing you can do is pull that rear end out of this car and take it to that gears place down there and have them go do something with. So they did. They pulled the whole rear end out of it while he's got his motor pulled out. And then the Chevelle, they were doing head gaskets on the Chevelle over here on the other side over here. So they took it down to that guy. Well, come to find out that crush collar there was something wrong with it. Like it was a steel crush collar, but it wouldn't crush. So So he's calling us. He's like, what do we do? The emergency sirens and stuff are going off for the tornado, and we're here over here. I said, well, where are you at? He says, well, we're out in the car. I said, well, go in the shop and tell them you guys need somewhere to go.
Man, those guys we spent, because you fed 4,500 plus tacos, that took a little bit of time for everybody to get through the line for the racer party. We got to hang out with those kids and see them, get the award and all that kind of stuff as we waited there. Man, they had a blast. That was the driver. I think that was like his second or third time to do one, first time driving. And then his co-pilot, it was his first time to be on one. And we were like, this is the best thing ever. There's never been anything as cool as what this is. So big shout out to them. Big shout out to the dude in the Mustang.
Yes.
They thrashed all week. Everybody that thrashed was still having a good time. It was like everybody had the right attitude for some reason. And if they didn't, I guess they just went home. I didn't talk to them.
Well, there was a lot of that went home. So I know there was a lot of those. I don't exactly know what the whole number count was, but oh my God, there was a lot of people that fell out for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one in the next one because the first car I want to talk about is mine. So hang on. Thanks a bunch to WAF Racing for being supporters of the program here. We appreciate them for everything they do for sure. And one thing, we say race car friends all the time, but like
Yeah.
Uncle Stoney is definitely one of our. I mean, you're like the first race car friend I had, really. So it's kind of fun to see how this has grown, and we can't do this without everybody. So please hit the share button if you're out there. Make comments on the side, man. We already got a bunch of folks in here making comments. Appreciate that. It really does. Race car friends really does make the world go round. Like you got to have them to message at 2:00 in the morning and be like, dude, I don't want to work on this car anymore, and they're like, keep working on it, man.
And we say race car friends, but we're actually, I would say, more family.
Yeah, you know a lot of stuff that people don't need to know about me.
Same.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right. And then, of course, the sponsors for Drag Driver Pete. I mean, we couldn't do, if you guys don't know, I drove up to Iowa or Illinois last week to be at 2 days at Six Summer. Eric is there with his dad all week. We were both just on Mega Week. We're going to be on the circuit here in 10 days, 7 days. Can't do that without our sponsors. So if you're trying to spend a little money, if you're trying to do some shopping for car stuff, hit these guys up. Summit Racing, Deechworks, Molly Motorsports, Driven Racing Oil, Howard's Cams, J-Wire Solutions, who's on Six Summer right now, winning or leading their class, WAF Racing, Performer Built Transmissions, Car Change 3D, Power Tube TV, Sweet Patina, and Racing Junk Classifieds. Man, so the list is long. I'm hoping if we can get this one deal worked out, it's going to be even longer here pretty soon. I'm super pumped about that.